Well, I wanted to begin the interview this evening by first of all wishing everybody around the world a very happy 4th of July. We're recording this one on the 4th of July, especially happy 4th of July to our next guest, Daniel Roy Barron. Welcome to Aaron's Opinion.
Well, thank you.
You are welcome. Yeah, yeah. You came up to me very courageously on Facebook and basically kind of out of the blue. Now I know that you said, and I believe you by the way, that we spoke years ago and that you've really been enjoying my content, to which I tremendously appreciate it. But basically you wanted to just be on the show. You wanted to have a chance to share your philosophy in life, share your opinions, tell us what's going on in that great state of Texas of yours, talk about your life. So basically, I mean, to where to begin? Republic of Texas ideas, your ambitions, utopianism, what's going on with your life, your living situation. Where to begin? I'll just turn it over to you. Dive right into it. Let's go.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for having this conversation that's really important on July the 4th, which I'm here in San Antonio staying at the homeless shelter, and I've been here for a while now. And, one of the things about one of my, I did write a book, but I took it down off of Amazon. It's called Looking Glass Shattered. And right now, nobody
Oh,
can buy the book. It's not for sale, actually, because it's a rough draft to the book that I've been working on, my whole life. The book, it'll come back in a newer form of fashion because I've learned a lot since all the updates, but I've been working on the same book for over 10 years. It's called Looking Glass Shattered. And then I realized it's really the looking glass compass shattered, that we all have an internal compass that speaks to our ethics, our logic, our, all these wonderful things like being incredibly nice and friendly. And one of the most important things that I've done is I have the equivalency of an Eagle Scout now. I did get up to life. Got all the merit badges except for the service project, cleaning up the trash, but I truly do feel as if I'm an Eagle Scout, which is the highest rank. Life is like right below the Eagle, but I've really, and I think one of the most important things, a good way to start the show, and we can talk more about the July the 4th, I want to add to extend on as we get into what we call the year 2021. But this becomes ingrained, when you go to the Boy Scout meetings, it's trustworthy, loyal, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, friendly, brave, reverent. These are all great words. They're beautiful words that I've always adhered to and love. And I actually claim, I know for a fact that if I didn't have any of the Boy Scout training, I would be dead today. And that's how much I give to it. Like, it taught me how to hike the trails safely and how to survive. And I most likely would have died when I did my 2-week stint on the Appalachian Trail, different things like that. And just owning to those words, when we're little babies and we're born, we don't know what those words are. We have to be taught, what is obedience, what is trustworthy, what is loyalty, what is ethics, what is logical, like Spock on Star Trek, and what is it, what are emotions, and what does it mean to be a human and compassionate, loving, humane, and peaceful. So yeah, thanks, Aaron, and we can deep dive more into that. I think that's a good intro to our conversation today.
it is. Thank you. For one thing, let's rewind the tape a little. We got to make sure that you get that book published. Don't let anything stop you from publishing a book. In fact, I know two people. I know of two people that will be willing and knowledgeable to help you get your book published. So we're going to accomplish that. I promise. In fact, I'm not asking you. I'm not I'm not saying that I hope you publish your book. It's kind of a requirement because you really got to get your words, your thoughts, your knowledge on paper or on audible.com so at least I can listen to it. Second thing that I'm sure we're going to now, I don't want to drift off into this topic yet, but as a matter of fact, did you know that I also love to hike and I have some ambitions to hike some famous trails in my life? Did you know that?
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. In the United States, we have three major trails. We
I
have the
know.
Appalachian
Appalachian
Trail that goes
Trail.
from Georgia to Maine.
Then we have
and
the
then the Pacific
continental
Crest Trail.
and the Continental Divide Trail.
Exactly. In the middle of the country. And then,
Absolutely, absolutely.
the
Let's
PC.
right, indeed, indeed. Let's not. I would be more than happy to dive into that episode. In fact, I was going to interview. In fact, I hope he will come. Another guy is going to actually come to this podcast, hopefully, and talk about the AT and hiking, that specific topic. Slightly different episode. We can certainly come back to it, and we're going to talk about that. But what I want you to really focus on and really, kind of go back to in our memory is when we were talking on Thursday night. We were both a little shy, a little nervous. We were trying to figure out who we are, and you started to talk about, your philosophy, your political philosophy, something about utopianism, something about that. So I really want to philosophize. Mostly, I want to philosophize with you about those matters. So if you want, basically dive right into those.
Well, I have placed myself out to be the governor of Texas. And since you and I, Aaron, that we talked recently, I actually did call the Democrat Party, and I left a message for Maddie, who's in Washington, D.C. right now, and she'll be back in San Antonio on July the 10th. So I called the San Antonio Democrat Party ticket to get on the ticket. And honestly, my campaign really isn't Republican or Democrat. It's about Texas exiting the evil United States forever. That Texas is the only state in the entire U.S. corporatocracy, is what I call it. This is not a country; it's a corporation. It's just a big corporation. And for 8 years, Texas was a separate country. So legally, at the government sites, all the federal sites, you can actually legally fly the Texas flag higher than the U.S. flag. It's the only state of the 50 states of the United States where you can actually fly the Texas flag on government ground. I think that's the unique thing, that we got into the whole thing about flags. And that, I guess, that was one point I wanted to raise that we didn't quite touch on, is that you can fly whatever flag you want. That's freedom of speech in your own lawn. But when it comes to, like, if somebody wants to in the any of these government buildings or state offices, they can fly the Texas flag higher than the U.S. flag, only in Texas. But in any of the other states, you can't do that, or you could, be reported to the federal government. And that's actually a good idea. Let's start flying the original flag, which is a little different than this flag. I'm still deep diving into this stuff, but for 8 years, around 1836, Texas was its own country, and it has a lot of rich history. It had its own president, and Sam Houston, as you might know. Actually, here's a bit of irony. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm from Tennessee originally. I've been living in Texas for a while, and I have a Texas ID and everything. Sam Houston was the only governor of both Tennessee and Texas. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm from Tennessee, and I moved to Texas, and I'm reliving the Sam Houston. He became governor and president of Texas. And I recommend everybody look up the history. It's really incredible. So I'm also from Tennessee, coming to Texas to do a text, so that it's called hashtag Texit. You can find that. And then there's another one. It's spelled hashtag TEXIT. And then the other one is Cal Exit, CALEXIT. Those are, you can search on them and find a lot of rich content. We talked about this before. The one thing that I'm offering that nobody else is talking about, who are separatists, and I actually have some friends that are into exiting the evil United States on my Facebook profile, for example. The one thing that I'm offering that's really unique is let's exit into 100% equality. And there's been protests in front of the, I actually remember before the COVID and all the lockdowns, there was some protests of people wanting to exit Texas from the evil United States. However, it was they were drawing in the Republican conservative crowd. And what I'm offering is, how do we get all the different crowds? How do we get LGBTQIA, disability rights, Black Lives Matter? How do we get Native rights, no DAPL, keep it in the ground, water protector rights? How do we get all the activist groups, stop 5G? There's a lot of really good activist groups out there. That's always been at the kernel of my activism, is trying to bring them all together. I've never wanted to be just, I see all these issues that number one, people are not in control. Number two is we need to move the power back to the people. But we also have to emphasize, let's move it back to equality-minded people that purely want 100% social, cultural, economic, industrial, and political equality, 100% equality. And we don't want racist or prejudiced people running it, but we're talking about abolishing politicians forever. And they're all obsolete. Politicians are obsolete. They're in the garbage bin, and let ordinary equality and extraordinary, we're all extraordinary and we're all ordinary people. We're all that. Everybody's extraordinary person on the planet. We all have our own unique skills and presence here. Well, let's move it all back to the equality, and let's fire all these politicians. These are all terrible, horrible jobs that are all obsoleted now with all this great technology. We can do blockchain, decentralized. People will get behind this, but we do need to have really good rules. And we can get more into that. There are some rules, such as the talking stick, where you're never interrupted, and then you hand the stick to someone else who's never interrupted. And we do have a precedence on this land, which is really called Turtle Island. This is not the USA. We need to dissolve the USA back to Turtle Island before the colonial era. And this is really Canada, Mexico, the US is really Turtle Island. And I encourage everybody to look. And actually, the entire Earth is Turtle Island. So there will be a lot of people thinking, well, what about the Lord of the Flies? What about, it'll just be chaos if people are running everything. We do need some really strong rules, but we can do it all based on no leaders. And I encourage people to also study. The Lord of the Flies was a fictional book. It was complete fiction. There's actually a true story of many kids that got stuck on an island for 3 years. And they actually all came together, and all of them survived, and they cooked together, and they did sharing together, and they got rescued after 3 years, and they were all fine. And that's the true story. And I recommend that people see that. All people say Lord of the Flies, where all the kids started becoming gangs and hurting each other, and everything went to chaos because there was no leaders. It was just the kids were all the leaders. It was a horizontal instead of a vertical centralized power model. But that was fiction. But the true story, there was actually a true story of somewhere around one of the islands around Indonesia, these kids, and they all survived, and they did well for 3 years. So I like to point that out. It's like, if somebody brings up the Lord of the Flies, we have to, you and I, Aaron, and all the other people who truly want to abolish the politicians and move it back to ordinary equality-minded people, we have to answer all the arguments against it. We have to say, well, we've got all these great rules we can put in. It's not going to be chaos. We can do it the right way. There's a lot of love and compassion out there.
I see that you invited me to some sort of a Turtle Island Facebook group, or something like that, right?
Yeah, I recently created this group called Restore Turtle Island. If
There
you
you
look
go.
it up, that's the the original name for all this land. Really, Turtle Island refers to Earth itself. We don't think about it, but even it's a giant island. But you and I were talking on a giant island right now. We don't think in terms of this being an island, but it still is.
It is. You could say, indeed, you could say. I
Yeah.
will certainly. Well, now that I know what it means, I'll certainly check that out. And of course, to the people who are in that group, they'll be able to find this episode of the podcast right here in that group, because I can certainly post it in there after it's published. I think now back to the political matters that you're going to need to address this, and you're going to face opposition. Here's the opposition: is people are going to say, well, Daniél, or potentially Governor Barron, how are you going to protect this great Republic of Texas from all other powers all over the world? To where will the funding come to protect the border of the Republic of Texas?
Well, that's a great question. I recommend everybody learn more about decentralizing. I mean, that's the first step. We all, right now.
So what about you? So what about you, potential Governor Barron? I'm not. I'm not asking you to talk to the people.
Well,
I'm
I'm
talking to you
answering your
about it.
question though. I mean, the answer to your question is to decentralize right now because we're a centralized model where all the power has been pushed up to the federal government. We don't have protections. I'm answering it. I'm just answering it in a different way than maybe you were expecting. You know, decentralizing is. We still have a national guard. We still need protectors. It's not that everything's going to go, and it's going to be a slow progress. We're going to have some testing. It won't be like you snap your fingers and overnight everything's going to, magically be fixed. That people will be running things. It's a slow. I mean, it'll be a transition period. So we'll still have a national guard. We'll still have our own military here. We already have I mean, actually, San Antonio. I was just walking by just recently. Yesterday, I spent time downtown. This is known as the military state. Actually, you don't want to fuck with. I don't know if you can use curse words on your show, but you
That's
definitely
fine.
don't want to f.
This is marked as explicit. So yes, it's marked as explicit on purpose. So
Okay.
speak from
Well,
the
you don't want
bottom
to
of your
fuck
heart.
with Texas because we have some kick-ass military bases here, and it's going to be a slow progress. And I put myself off the idea that maybe I won't have to be governor too much longer, but maybe that's not a realistic thing. Maybe I'll have to hand it to another true liberty minded, don't tread on me, and moving it back to people equality. Again, I sound like a parrot. I'm saying equality a trillion times, but because it's so important that I want other separatist groups to hear our conversation today. But you asked some good questions. How do you protect? I guess another question. Back to you. When you use the word protect, what do you mean by protect? Are you saying like, are you feeling like there's millions of illegal, or would you? I guess I prefer the word undocumented, not illegal, or undocumented people are pouring here. If is your vision of Texas separating going to be any different than it being part of the? I guess another way to word the question, back to you, is a completely separate Texas. And actually, I would move from governor to president, and then we would still have a governor, but then it would be the president of Texas to fully separate. A lot of what we're talking about, nobody's even thought of. But what is your definition of protection? And actually, let's say Texas is a separate country, and then you have the other 49 states that are still part of the evil United States. What does protection mean to you? I guess I'll ask you back, to further, qualify what you're saying, what you mean by protection.
What protection means to me is that you, President Barron, stand up and basically order the military of Texas to defend, protect, preserve the Constitution of the Republic of Texas, to help people from all over the world come in and emigrate into the great Republic of Texas safely and legally, and to filter out those people who wish to harm Texas. Because as the leader of the Free Republic of Texas, you need to be prepared that not everyone will be your friend. Not everyone will be a nice podcaster. Happening to be, by the way,
Oh,
not everyone's a nice, lovable conservative Republican podcaster like me who just loves everything you're saying and really gets a kick out of you. Okay, you're going to have to deal with evil people. Okay, and one of the points of constructive criticism that I can make to to help build your philosophical argument to make you a strong leader is that the fact is, if you talk about this horizontal, right, and you at home on YouTube can see my hand here, this horizontal form of governance that hopefully President Barron sees here. The problem with that is that there are some leaders around the world who look down upon that and say, well, if he doesn't have a king, a strong general, well, don't mind if I do. I'm just gonna, some people around the world might just say, well, let's invade Texas. Let's invade that country. Other people are just simply going to come into the great Republic of Texas. By the way, having nothing to do with you, but maybe they won't even know that it's a republic. Maybe they'll think, I need to come into the United States to have the best life possible for my family, my children, and their children's children. And it's up to you as the future president of the Republic of Texas to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution of your state, to make sure that the Army is ready to help those who wish to help you, and to make sure that those who wish you harm stay nowhere near the great Republic of Texas. In other words, make sure that your allies of the Republic of Texas love you and trust you, and make sure that the enemies of the Republic of Texas always know to be afraid of President Barron. Hello? 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 What happened? Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Well, I guess we'll have.
Okay. Well, did you hear my answer?
Well, I was just saying, that all states dissolve from the evil United States.
I'm confused. I think that without realizing it, I think that we had a little misunderstanding in the audio there. You asked me about the question about um, what does defending and protecting the republic mean? Did you hear what I said about that?
No, for some reason my Zoom muted itself. I don't know why. I didn't touch anything. So,
Um, well, basically, what you need to be aware of, and when you go back to the episode, you'll hear my response in a longer form. My rhetorical comment back to you about it is that you need to make sure that when you're the future president of the Republic of Texas, you need to make sure that the your allies around the world know that they can trust you, and you need to make sure that the enemies of the Republic of Texas know that they need to be afraid of President Barron. And
yeah,
that's
I agree with you. That's a good point. Excellent point.
so that's what protect means to me. And when you go back and listen to the audio, it's totally not your fault. It won't seem so disorienting because Zoom does very strange things now and again. So that's really what protect means to me, and that's what you need to be able to provide to the citizens of this future Republic of Texas. So
Okay.
that's my answer to you to help you. As I say, please go back to the episode once it's published and listen for this point in the recording, because I gave you a whole speech, a whole political speech about it.
Okay.
Zoom decided to I don't know. That was very odd.
Well,
But
I do believe in God, and I think God does.
that was very
God
that
works
was
in mysterious ways.
indeed,
Definitely believe in God.
indeed. Well, when you hear this episode, I think it'll be clear. My response will be clearer to you. But I think that's where you'll really either lose votes or gain votes, because what you have to find a way of doing is basically convincing people, earning the trust of people who support you, while at the same time not allowing yourself to be pulled down by others who wish you harm. And that's what you need to be willing to do as a politician and as a representative, whether you're on the Democratic ticket or whatever party you choose, to represent yourself upon. You know,
Are
um,
we still going to record anymore, or has it already been an hour? Wow.
no, we're still going. We're still going.
Oh, cool.
We never
Oh,
stopped.
okay. I wasn't sure if we were still going or not.
We never stopped. No, I know it's very disorienting. I know, but we never stopped it. Zoom will actually correct the audio, so it'll just be a little awkward, but it won't. It's really hard to believe it, but you won't notice the gap as much. It's very strange. Um,
Yeah.
and anyway, so I mean, the other concept that you talk about that we need to define, I think we did a really good job defining what protect means. The other concept that needs to be defined, though, that is misunderstood is utopianism, right? So what is that? What's utopianism?
I'm going to get into utopian, but I want to say that this is a slow, I guess, a good visualization I just thought of as a train where you have to decouple the train. That Texas could be the first state, and it already has a lot of threads to decouple from the evil I keep saying evil United States because
Yeah.
that is what it really is. And
Well, why,
none
and
of
you know
it.
what? And you know what though? You might have more conservative people in Texas that might say, well, Mr. Barron, why is the United States evil? What does evil mean to you? Why are you calling my country evil? I'm a citizen of this country. Don't call my country evil.
Well, I'm also a citizen. Well, even I
So
really don't like the word citizen.
why are you calling it
Well,
this is the flack
I
you're going
should
to take. Why is it evil?
You're right. I should pinpoint the leaders. It's the leaders' fault. But we're in 9 simultaneous wars against people who are innocent in Syria, just for oil and the stock market, so the oil does well and natural resources and stock market, so that all that can be stolen and bought and sold on the stock market. I personally don't own any stock, and I do believe in there's ethical stocks, but you really got to dig deep to find one. So most of the stock market, which is really, in Manhattan and Chicago, the stock exchanges are doing evil things. Innocent families are being killed in Syria and around the world, just in Tunisia too. And Israel is doing horrible things to the Palestinians. We need to rename Israel back to Palestine, the original name. And these are horrible things. This is evil. So I should correct it and say evil leaders of the United States, because you and I, Aaron, we're not leaders. We're not in charge. We're not walking around with a nuclear suitcase right now. We're not leaders. We're trying to have a more utopia. We'll get into utopia in a minute, but yeah, in the future, I'll make sure and say evil leaders of the United States to make it crystal clear.
Thank you. I would offer you a teaspoon of caution by using the word evil, because although I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think that if you really want to make this come true, you need to be aware that some people, and we see it with every administration, okay, left and right, that you're going to have to accommodate the low information voter. A low information voter is someone who votes without really understanding the philosophy and backbone of the candidate. Okay. So, and these are the types of people where, in my estimation, they would take the word evil and really, you know, and really run with it and really think that you're an evil person because you allow the word evil to trickle into your vocabulary, you see. So people pay attention to that more than you realize. So it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Please be careful how you say evil and the words that you use. And what I mean is, I'm not bothered by anything you're saying. What I'm helping you to do is to understand that if you're talking as a leader, which we are leaders because we're on a podcast, we're on an opinion show where we're probably offending all sorts of people, and I couldn't care less because it's the right thing to do. And you know what? The people who don't like us are the same people who don't listen to us. So that's their loss or their gain. Who cares? Anyway, that's beside the point. The point is, if you really want to do this, you need to make sure that you don't fall for any of these fallacies and find yourself in the middle of one. It's like saying, well, to be perfectly honest, if I have to say I'm perfectly honest, then don't trust me, right? So if you call someone else evil, I might look right back at them and say, wait a minute, you're just shifting the blame over to those evil leaders. What about the evil leader named Barron? What about you? Are you evil? No, you aren't, but people might think it. Be careful. Be very careful.
I understand what you're saying, but I personally want to see Biden, Trump, Carter, Bush, all of them in Guantanamo Bay for forever. Put them all in jail. All of the presidents. You and I, we're not president of the United States. We're not. We are. Yeah, I agree with you that we're leaders, but what we're not anywhere near like the leader that a president who is the commander in chief of the army or the governor who is the commander in chief of the state. even though states' rights have been destroyed since 1865. We all know that the amendment, I believe it was the 17th Amendment, destroyed states' rights, and all the rights have been moved. I'm an anti-federalist too, and that's the same thing as saying I'm a decentralizer. In a horizontal government. So I'm pushing that all the power goes back to the states, and that we simply make all the government buildings in Washington, D.C. are museums, so that you and we can just go visit the White House just simply as a museum, and then we remember the horrors of what centralized, what we're in now is a horrific George Orwell 1984 police nightmare. I can go more into me living at this homeless shelter. It's actually very appropriate to be a slave and embodied here in this homeless shelter on July the 4th. And I'm okay with spraying the word evil around. If people want to call me evil, that's fine. Or the opposite of evil is saint. And I do believe in those terms, evil and saint. Some people I know where that's coming from, and there's definitely shades of gray. I've also studied Buddhism a lot, to take the middle road. The idea is someone truly evil, or are they a saint? Should they be? I just saw that, like Pope John Paul II, there's a statue for him in the San Fernando Church, which is the oldest church in the USA corporatocracy. It's here in San Antonio. He achieved sainthood, for example. He's dead now, and he actually, according to Catholic faith, he's a saint. So I guess you could say but then a lot of people would definitely say that, and Catholicism is also evil too, who are not Catholic. So I understand your point. You have to walk that. If you spray that word evil and saint around, you have to be careful, about spraying it around. I do like Buddhism because it does teach more of, that nobody's truly evil, or all sainthood, that we're all shades of gray. We're somewhere in the middle in these expressions.
Sure. And I would offer a hand of caution to you about saying that any leader of our country, past or present, should be in any form of incarceration. All right. So I don't think saying that will help. Okay. And I think that as far as your current situation goes, number one, after this evening, I would like you to speak with one of my other great friends, other great podcast buddies out there in the community. He's on my WhatsApp group. I'll put you in touch with him. He has interviewed many people who are suffering or are dealing with the topic of homelessness. So if you want, talk about your shelter, talk about your situation.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. What the word, I feel like I'm more advanced than the Dalai Lama. He's Dalai Lama number 14, in that he writes all these beautiful books about compassion, but if you truly want to learn compassion, you got to walk the walk, do the talk, just like, you got to really just get out there and do it. So I would really honor the Dalai Lama if he spent an entire year in homeless shelters all across the world. I would truly see the Dalai Lama, and other monks. The monks are all in sanctuaries right now. And that's another thing. I'm going to put more of this in my book, is that they need to be out here in the streets. We need to, if you walk outside wherever you live and anywhere in the world, you should see a monk in your day-to-day routine with a monk robe on. I've actually got a monk robe. I might try to put it on because I'm proud of that, because I do believe we're all born as monks.
Are you an ordained monk?
I haven't been ordained, but I've been ordained, my own way of just living outside. I've never, I don't know if you've heard of the star chart or like the Gemini. I do feel like strong Gemini, where we still need, basic laws like respect each other, love thy neighbor. And we do need to move more towards loving animals and people, and looking more towards vegan, vegetarian diets that are much more ethical for us and for Earth. It's also proven that if you're vegan, vegetarian, how much it can help our environment. But to answer your question, I don't have an ordained document proving, and it is ridiculous how many documents we have. I'm actually looking to, oh yeah. So I'm not like officially ordained, but I might look into that, more of what it means. But I think what I would be ordained to be would be really all the religions. I think one of the unique things that I'm saying on my campaign and just my life in general is that all the religions are correct, all of them. You know, Catholicism, Judaism, Christianity, Hindi, they're all correct, 100% correct, so long as they speak of love. The only caveat I have, if they speak of love, they're all great. And even the atheist saints, a lot of people don't realize that there's actually atheist saints. You can look it up if you don't believe me. So I believe all the world religions are correct, and atheism is also correct, and that they're all saying the same thing. They're just using a different language. So as a world teacher, and simply known as the teacher, that's my role, to introduce that if they're speaking of fear, then they're incorrect. So any religion, I can walk into any religion anywhere, and that includes Islam too. If any of the religions are speaking of love, true love, then I'm fine with them. But if they speak of fear, then they're false. And I'll go back to you, but I just want to say love is all the good words like hope, joy, friendship, neighbors, peace, compassion. These are all really, when you say love, you're saying this big bucket of words, and fear is all the things like fighting, friction, war, violence. Those are all the fearful bucket of things. So I just want to, clarify when I say really, there's only two things in the universe, or cosmos, and what God's given us. God's given us free will. It's either love or fear. And I'm going to put more of that in my book, to separate, so people can clearly define what is love and what is fear. So I'll ask back to you, what do you think about that idea that all religions, including Islam and Christianity and Muslim, are correct so long as they speak of love, but they're not correct if they speak of fear?
I think it's a brilliant point. On that point, I could not agree more. And yeah, you can be a monk if you want. I also think it's interesting that you bring that up. It's incredibly ironic, actually. And I'm not going to get into a big discussion about the who, the what, the why, but I actually saw a monk in real life 2 days ago. A monk walked.
Oh, wow.
A monk walked by me. It's a bit of a long story. I don't want to get us off track. I will tell you that there are many monks in Thailand, and I also look up to and have a great appreciation for the monastic life, to which I certainly don't live, but I think it's beautiful. If you're doing it for the right reason, if you're knowledgeable of it, if you want to do it, if it's for you, I'm not stopping you. Go do the right thing. Go help people. Go love people. Fine. Good. But there are, organizations, and there are orders of monks, to which there are many different things that you could be doing. It's not just Buddhism. There's many faiths have a monastic order, to which you should learn more about. I would encourage you, if you really want to be a monk, go over to Thailand. There's supposedly a program. I'm not going to get into the name dropping of what it's called because it's not appropriate. I don't know enough about it myself, but I do know that if that's your ambition, it can come true, legally, spiritually, and properly. Sure, yeah. Okay, all right. So that's all very good. So what are some of your other goals? I mean, back to the political stuff. What are some of your other goals?
I just put my monk outfit on, and one of the things that I do feel better. It's like if anybody wants to be a monk, and the reason why I brought up Gemini, that star symbol, we're not much into any of the Gemini. If you read what our horoscope and our chart is, we just we're never into like a lot of rules or laws. Like I said, it's respect each other, love each other, and keep it simple. Life is so much more complicated than it really needs to be with all document. I in 2019 I destroyed all my documents, and I was naked chanting in the woods, and it was an incredible experience just to rip it up. I felt such a huge relief. All these freaking documents, and it took me 3 months to get back. And one thing I want to say is I did live in a monastery or a cave. And that's always an option for any of us. We can say, I want to go to Thailand, and whether I'm legal or illegal there, I'm just going to live there for 10 years, 20 years, or the rest of my life.
You can,
I
you
actually
can,
know
guys, you can, good. Well, then you probably know people who are in that program that I know of. Then, but you don't need to live. You don't need to live illegally. Ironic that there's a firework. You don't need to live illegally in Thailand. You can come over there legally. They have a great immigration system where Americans go there all the time, not just to do the monastic stuff, but to do all sorts of tourism work, all sorts of things. Yeah, cool. So what monastery did you live in?
Well, that's the interesting point. Is that this happened to all September 2019. I moved in with my friend in Austin, Texas, and I lived there for 18 months. And that was his house. And the entire time I was there, I used he left me his car. He put me on insurance, and it was a $500,000 townhouse. He left me his car and a credit card for grocery shopping, and very little rules, and just take care of the place, and no mind altering drugs, and no alcohol, no smoking, very basic rules, and no meat. He's a vegan. And the whole time I lived there for 18 months, I only used one tank of gas. And I just worked on myself. And one of the most incredible things that I'll get more into the side of this with your, thank you for affirming to your friend about the homeless, is that I truly have reached this point because of that. And only because of that, that I cut my life story. I just did an ego death where, Daniel Roy Barron is really dead. The ego version of me, I'm still alive, of course, you can see me, but I did an ego death. And what that means is now I'm the master of my life story instead of a slave to my story. I just turned 53 on June 13th as my 53rd birthday. And it was really appropriate because that's 54 in Asian years, which is half of the 108. So, one thing about the monk stuff I just want to say, and I'll turn it back to you, is that simply, I bought this monk robe on Amazon when I was staying with my friend. And fortunately, it stuck with me because I did go through some difficulties here in San Antonio, but it's all okay. It's all part of lessons and journeys. But you don't have to get an ID to be a monk. Just go on Amazon and spend. I think I paid about $60 for this monk robe from China, and just wear it and I feel a lot different. People react with me very differently when I wear this monk robe when I'm out and about than and it really points to something incredible, is that we truly do have a choice of what we have in our closet. You can have a military outfit in your closet, you can have a governor's robe or a president's robe or a monk robe, or you can have a McDonald's robe or a construction worker with the yellow vest. You can have all these different robes, and it's your choice. What robe do I ask our audience, what robe do you want to put on first thing in the morning, or when you go to bed at night? What robe? And I guess what I wanted to insist one more point about the monk life is that when we're little babies and our databases are wiped clean, if you believe in reincarnation or the DNA memory, those are both saying the same thing. When we're little babies, we have no memory at all. We're monks at that point. There's no difference between. I would like to be challenged on that. I'd much just, if I spend time with like a little baby with no knowledge at all, a newborn baby, and Dalai Lama, I can learn probably more from from the newborn baby than I can from the Dalai Lama about compassion and love and peace. I've never read Dalai Lama's books because I don't need to. I can just visit any little baby from any background and get everything I need to know about love and
I
compassion from that little
I
baby.
it's interesting what you're saying interests me. Also, I would try, if I were in your position, I think it's important for you to not come across as dismissive, because you just, you say that, you're wearing a monk robe. Okay, that's your choice. But then you just dismissed a book that was written by someone who is significant in the monastic order. So please be careful, because, you know, I don't know. I'm not a monk. It's not for me to say, but I don't know. So do you want, I mean, if you know people who are ordained in Thailand as monks, then then as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome to go over there and join them and do that. But I sense a hesitation with you. I sense
Well, I
a
guess I just want to make it crystal clear to you and the audience is that we don't need all these documents. We shouldn't even need a driver's license or a social security card or to be ordained and officially, where I have to go off to a monastery for 2 years and then they give me some certificate. That was one of the main points I was just trying to make crystal clear, is that I am a monk because I say I'm a monk. I don't need to tell you, oh, I'm ordained somewhere at XYZ, whether it's Thailand or India or Finland. I'm already an ordained monk because I say I am. I truly do believe in the monk life.
Quite frankly, if that's a life to which you believe, then that's a life to which you need to lead. You see, so it's not my place. It's not my place to be critical of it, but I would just say that probably, other monks who have been through formal ordainment and robing would question, would have some knowledge for you, some philosophy for you. But I do see what you're saying with the fact that we don't need all of this documentation. But then again, we do need to decide what rules are, right? You just, like, earlier in the episode, you said how we don't really need rules. Well, quite frankly, I'm struggling a little, because monks are, when I think of a monk, I think of someone who's courageous, who's strong, who's wise, and who's willing to follow strong and wise people. So I'm trying to figure out, are you a leader of the Republic of Texas, or do you just want me to go put you in touch with the monks? It's totally fine if you want to be a monk. I'm not stopping you. I just need to understand the philosophy of where your philosophy and how I'm trying to engineer your thought base. I'm trying to understand how you think about the world.
Well, this could be called the philosophy of Daniel Roy Barron. What I'm basically saying
is, do you understand my question?
Yeah,
do you understand my concern here? Okay.
Yeah, I would run for governor of Texas wearing these monk robes, and I'm pushing out. And there's a thing that I didn't even know. I have a dear friend, Grandmaster Shower. If you're in San Francisco listening to this, we talk almost every day for like two or 3 hours. He is a Grandmaster in martial arts. And there's a whole category of monks called martial monks who are trained. You don't want to mess with them. You don't want to fuck with a martial monk, because they have the black belt. They know every way to take you down. There's two types of monks or Buddhas. There's the fat belly Buddha, and then there's the kick-ass, like Jackie Chan and, like Bruce Lee, the real karate trained monks. That's the kind of monk that I am, where I still have all this wise sage wisdom that, we've grown up with. All you have to do is watch a Star Wars movie to get, Yoda wisdom. You don't have to spend 5 years in Indonesia to learn the sage advice. Just watch a bunch of Star Wars and Star Trek. That's really all, a lot of what that is. But I guess what I'm pointing out, I'm redefining what monk is. That's why I feel like you're not fully getting it, and maybe the audience is not getting it either. It's time that we have to redefine what monk means, and that we wear these robes. And we're all like, whenever you watch the Star Trek episode, for example, or Star Wars, they're all wearing monk robes. That's our future, though. There'll be some form of, science fiction is not fiction. It's not fake. Actually, we're going to have to quickly move to that. And that's what I'm offering Texas and the world. This is a big thing, and I do want to point out the two people I'll be running with is Beto O'Rourke, who ran for president. He's on the Democrat side, and Greg Abbott is the Republican conservative. So I'm offering up right now. I just found an article on USA Today that was just published 2 or 3 days ago, and both Beto and Greg Abbott are horrible. Abbott's actually running for a third term of governor of Texas, or Tejas. The original name is Tejas. Nobody likes either of them. So there is an opening for me. But I'm offering a lot of unique things, like wearing this monk robe instead of what I call a Western slavery suit, where you wear that choke tie where it chokes your neck. Those ties that people wear, the slave ties where you go off to the corporate job and you're a good corporate slave, good obedient corporate slave. I'm offering an incredible opportunity for Texas, and I'd love to get more into what it means for me to be the next governor of Texas.
Sure, sure. I think that really you need to. I in a lot of regards here, I think that actually, I just want to say that we okay, got it, got it. Okay, we started. Okay, all right. No worries. Just making sure for the radio station that we have some. I try to keep the interviews to 1 hour, so we have about 10 minutes on this interview. What I am here's where I agree. I agree with you, Daniel, that you can be whatever you want to be, because that's what the Republic of Texas should mean. I also disagree, and I also respectfully criticize the fact that you are deconstructing. In my opinion, I feel that you're deconstructing um, basically monastic code. Okay, so I think that this will eventually, swing back to be something that you need to figure out and learn how to manage, because if you're a politician, you're a politician. If you're a monk, you're a monk. It's kind of one or the other, you know? So that's where I'm really struggling to find, commonality, and to really find common ground here. I think in actuality, on, you know, base level, on the surface, I I I agree with your attitude about life, but that I think that your GPS is a little kind of rerouting. In other words, I I hope that doesn't disturb you, and two, I hope you can kind of understand where I'm coming from with that.
Well, I'm glad you use the word deconstructing, decentralizing. These are all great words. If you put de in front of any word, it means you're saying, we basically live on a planet that is peace on earth. We have all the pieces in place, and this is the Garden of Adam and Eve. We have a lot of work to do, though. We've got the U.S. evil leaders. Now I'm correcting myself, and in future interviews, I'll make sure and say U.S. evil leaders are in 9 simultaneous wars. And right now, these drones and dropping bombs on innocent people in Syria and Tunisia and all over the world. And we live in a police state where everything is being tracked and traced, everything on our cell phone. People are getting incarcerated for freedom of speech and freedom of religion. That just happened to me recently. I got arrested by 8 cops, and that's how I ended up in this homeless shelter
So
with little to no
why
money.
were you why please
So
if, why were you why were you arrested by 8 cops?
Well, as we kind of wrap it up, because I guess we have about 7 minutes, I do want to emphasize that I will be holding a rally on here in San Antonio. Everybody is welcome to come. Anywhere around the world, you're welcome to come. It's a rally for the Rainbow Prophecy. But I was arrested by the Riverwalk during Fiesta. Here in San Antonio, we just finished Fiesta, which is like a 10-day long celebration, a party, celebration time period. And I was just chanting all night, and this cop started yelling at me at 6:30. I was doing part of the ceremony. It's basically the Wonkin Tonkin, or the Great Spirit. I was burning incense on my hand, and they hauled me off because of that. They considered it self mutilation or something like that. So they put me in they put hand shackles on me and foot shackles on my arms and my hands. And they threw me in a police van all alone for 30 minutes up to University Health Hospital. And I was held in a mental hospital for 7 days. And then I was released back to the homeless shelter after that. So I've never been incarcerated, and I've never been in jail, or I wouldn't be talking about running for governor or any job. But I'm actually grateful for that experience. I have love and compassion for the police, even though they were robotic and really they were really fat. They were probably like 150 pounds overweight, and I feel sorry for them because they have this they all look like they had no heart. They have a heart of stone. It's like they gave up on the purity. It says in many religions they talk about the Mother, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and purity. The purity. And one thing that I can say, I've been through some other situations similar to this, where I've had other confrontations with police and some, I have to use the word evil people, because evil does exist, or more evil than they should be, more evil than saints, is that I've been able to hold on to my pure heart no matter what. And that's one of the most important things for any of us. So at this point, I guess we just kind of wrap up. I'm glad to, give people my contact information. You can reach me at my email it's one word, familyequality@protonmail.com. It's family equality, just one word, at protonmail.com. And I'm holding this rally, which is exciting, on Thursday, July the 7th. And you can look it up. The Rainbow Prophecy is a real thing. And I truly believe I'm one of the leaders to help bring this. There'll have to be, of course, millions more people. It's just right now I'm one person, but I'm trying. I've got a Facebook event. I'll send you an invite, Aaron. And it's a face-to-face meeting. This is not online. And this is actually trying to bring about this Turtle Island, restoring Turtle Island back to the best we can. We can never fully restore it, but I do believe in reparations for all the Native people that all their land was stolen from them. And I believe in reparations for African Americans too, and reparations for other minorities where the USA leaders, the millionaires, the trillionaires, the billionaires that we know today, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, the Bilderbergs, the Kennedys, the Trumps, the Bidens, the Carters, all these trillionaire billionaires who are the slave plantation owners, they're going to have to go to jail, and they're going to have to do reparations. They're going to have to go to jail for a long time. Their ancestors will. So all the living presidents will go to jail soon. This is happening. And all the plantation owners will go to jail, and all the trillionaires, billionaires, and millionaires will go to jail. Bill Gates will go to jail. Jeff Bezos will go to jail. All these hoarders and corporate welfare parasites, they got all the bailouts. Obama will go to jail. All the presidents are going to jail, including Obama and Biden and Trump and Carter, Bush, all the living presidents. So that's what it. And not only am I saying this, I truly do believe that in God 100%, and God wants this to happen. I believe that we really don't have free will. I believe everything happens for reason. And I could. So I don't believe in free will anymore. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason, and there's no coincidence.
So I agree. To which I agree. I tremendously enjoyed having you. Even though we didn't agree on everything, I still think you'll be an excellent president of the great state of Texas. But of course, there's things to work on, things to talk about, things to mull over listening to episodes of Aaron's Opinion and many great other episodes. To which I give you one final question. If you can ask me, Aaron Richmond, only one question to really make me sweat, to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster. What do you want to know about me from the bottom of your heart?
Well, my favorite question to ask anybody, and I think it's the most important one, is if I could wave a magic wand and you could do any job on earth, what would it be? And also for the audience, feel free to follow me. I have a page on Facebook. It's called Daniel Roy Backpack Baron. We've got about 200 people that have liked the page. That's my Run for Governor page. We've got Restore Turtle Island group and Peace Warriors that we're going to do all of this peacefully. I want to emphasize it. It's a peaceful evolution. That's a really important thing to point out too. Yeah. It'll be done peacefully. And the one last thing is that we'll go back to the 1142 Iroquois, which is, I truly believe in Panarchy. If you haven't heard of Panarchy, please look it up in Direct Democracy. But for you, Aaron, if I could wave a magic wand, what job would you do? If you could have any job on the planet, including like if there was $500 million in your bank account right now and you could do any job, anything, what would you do? with all that 500 million and any job that you could do?
I would do the best job I can with all the great things I do today, continuing my teaching, which I love, continuing podcasting, which I love, and trying to help as many people around the world to have knowledge and access to equality and liberty and freedom. And I hope that that's something that all of us should do, right?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Daniel Roy, Backpack Baron. That's my nickname, Backpack, from living out of a backpack for 10 years now and traveling the world, including Brazil. So thank you so much. This has been great. God bless you, Aaron. God bless the audience, and God bless Earth. God bless God.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
God
bless you, Daniel. Take care of yourself. I wish you the very best of health. And that's the bell, as we say. Hold on. Don't hang up.